And happy Wednesday. I'm glad that you all are tuning in live with me today. So, for 1 second, let me get my window set up. And so, while people are tuning in, I will see your comments. I'm really excited about tuning in today. I got a lot of good stuff for you, and you all have been very active and engaging, and I appreciate it. We're having fun already. It's only been day one, so I can't wait for more of you to start logging in, and I can hear from you yourself. And so I am excited, excited, excited. The feedback so far has been great. And while people are tuning in, I want to do a quick intro of myself. My name is Sandra Goldtree, and I'm a registered dietitian for men and women. And I welcome you to day 2 of Summer Shape Up 3-day clean eating challenge with Powerhouse Breakfast Smoothies. And first and foremost, I want to express to everyone that you are more than capable of being successful at conquering your biggest challenges and fears regarding your health and your weight. So don't ever fear that you're stuck and this is just how it's supposed to be. That's not always the case. And I have a case in point that I actually want to share with you with a real live testimony, a real live story called named titled 22 pounds lost during the pandemic and no longer look to food for comfort. And so I'm going to put this URL in the chat because I would like for you all to see her for yourself while I'm sharing her story, because it's pretty inspirational, very, very inspirational. And so she was struggling with stress eating, with sugar cravings. So I saw many of us are having those challenges. And she had a very stressful job, and food was her way to cope with stress. Okay. And she wanted comfort food, such as like chocolate was one of her favorite ones. And after a long work day, after a long week, she would overeat. And then of course we go through that cycle. We feel guilty. We try to exercise it away. And it just continues and continues. And she knew that she needed help when one day she went to the doctor and she got on the scale and she said the number was completely foreign to her. Like she had been this was her highest weight. And her primary doctor had added to her diagnosis as obesity as a concern on her chart. And that really kind of woke her up. And together we worked to refocus the role that food played in her life, and tweaked how she was eating and her eating pattern to make her meals more satisfying, more filling, which I hope you all are seeing with some of these simple meals that we have in the challenge. In 4 months, she went from 185 to 163. So that's what you're seeing. If you're able to click on the URL and see her photos, you'll see that that was a 22-pound loss. And she no longer looks to food for comfort, to pass the time away, and her cravings no longer exist. And she understands that there are no foods off limits. And when she wants something, she can have it. And it's not like something that she feels like she has to avoid and do it in hiding. And during those 4 months, she lived her life. She traveled, she ate out, we were in a pandemic. She was single. She had to deal with social distancing. So, being a single person and you're already on quarantine, that made it even worse. So definitely check out her URL and see her story more in its entirety. And the last time I checked in with her, she actually was at 27 pounds. So she's continuing to lose and she's maintaining it. So I'm really, really, really proud of her. And to me, the biggest testimony is that she was able to lose the weight and maintain the weight loss during a major change in her life. So she ended up moving from Orlando back up north, where she's from originally. She got a new job. She ended up getting engaged, and she's planning a wedding. So you still living your life while you are maintaining your health and losing weight and reaching your goals and maintaining your goals. So that is what it's all about, and all of that is possible for each and every one of you. It's just a matter of just having the right steps, the right direction, and encouragement. That's all it is. And so here's a breakdown of what we are going to do today. And so if that was inspirational, definitely tune in and say hello to me. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Well, again, I like this to be very, very interactive. We had great interaction and conversation yesterday, so we want to keep this thing going. And so we're going to start by recapping yesterday. I'm going to do a quick recap of what we spoke about, and then I'm also going to go into addressing either any questions or comments. You definitely feel free to post that throughout, but I definitely want to share some comments and questions that I saw yesterday that I feel will both encourage you and to help you as we move forward. And then we're going to go into today's topic, and then we will shift back to the guidebook where we will talk about how what's coming up next. Okay. And finally, and then we'll continue to talk about next steps. And so And so, as a teaser, are we ready to get things going? Are we ready to get things going? And so, you definitely want to stay to the end. Thank you. Definitely want to stay to the end. I am going to share with you how you can take a deeper dive with me. I mentioned this yesterday as well, where we want to end that yo-yo cycle of weight loss, weight gain. We want to have healthier relationships with food, and we want to just get back to our old self, having that energy, having that life, having that fun, enjoying going out, taking pictures, things like that. And we just want to have more energy and be focused throughout the day. So I'm going to talk more about that as well. And again, if you want to get a sneak peek, maybe you can't make it to the end, this is definitely something you want to check out where you can have some one-on-one attention. Okay, so let me add this link here as well so you can have access to both. So again, I see people chiming on, and as you are, please feel free to say hello to me, and we'll get this thing going. So a recap of yesterday. So we spoke about your morning energy blaster. We talked about the one thing that you can do to boost your metabolism and to get that weight loss jump started, okay? And one of the goals, in a nutshell, is about eating an adequate and well-balanced breakfast every day, okay? That is not just coffee, but it is an adequate breakfast that may include coffee, okay? And one goal of having breakfast is to provide the energy to start your day off strong without depending on false energy so that you can sustain yourself throughout the day and appropriately. And we talked about that crash and burn effect that happened between 3 and 4 o'clock. That's usually when our cravings kick in or we're feeling exhausted and sluggish. And then the domino effect continues because most people have allowed themselves to get too hungry, and by that time they get off work, they either hit the drive-through or they hit a restaurant because they're not able to make it home. Usually there's nothing prepared, and so it's a vicious cycle, right? And we talked about the basic formula for breakfast. We talked about pairing carbs, yes, carbs with protein and healthy fats, and all of those pieces make up an adequate and well-balanced breakfast, okay? And so finally, to top all that off, still have your morning mojo, but just understand that the energy is coming from the food and the nutrients, not the coffee, okay? And then we want to depend on clean eating, adequate sleep, and exercise to sustain us throughout the day on a regular basis, okay? So definitely check that out if you didn't have a chance to listen live. Definitely check it out. So good information. And let me check for comments just to make sure I'm not missing anything. Hey, Raina, and hey, Krista. And Raina, you have been on it. So I am happy. And actually, it's perfect timing because I did want to speak about some comments and some questions that I did see yesterday and some this morning. And so I saw one post just in case there are peanut allergies, because I know we do have peanuts and tree nuts and things like that in this plan. Seeds is a substitution. So like sunflower seeds for the peanut Thai zucchini noodles. So share how you all like that. Did you have fun making it and spiralizing it? So share with me your thoughts on that. So I enjoy that as well. And I like mine warmed up, so I warm mine up, but you have the option to have it cold or warm. And so if anybody has any tree nut allergies, you can substitute with seeds, with the smoothies. If you need to do sunflower butter versus almond butter or peanut butter, things like that. So there is substitutions for that. And if there's anybody who needs any other additional substitutions that you do not see in the recipe itself, or you don't see in the intro section of the guidebook, then let me know and I will get you some information, okay? And then I wanted to share some wonderful comments that Raina did post. She said she felt great this morning. She has more energy and she is enjoying the meals. They've been satisfying her. I think everybody's been blown away about the smoothies. Saw a lot of comments about how they did fill them up until lunchtime. So they lasted a good 3 to 4 hours. In some cases, people were like, I'm still feeling full from my smoothie. But again, I said maybe 4.5 if you're feeling that way, but don't push it out too far because then if the hunger will kick in, it'll kick in strong. So we don't want to go too long. And then she said, which is very powerful because we all can relate to this, is that she was able to fight the cravings and the temptations for sweets. And so one of the biggest triggers, a lot of people don't realize, for our cravings to come at such an intense level is we're hungry. We've either deprived ourselves or we've restricted so much, and then finally our body gets to a point where it's like it can't take it anymore, and is craving something. Something's fattening, sweet, salty, and so it sounds like she was able to control it versus it controlling her. And you see, it doesn't take long. It doesn't take long at all, and so that is a wonderful thing. You just continue that cycle. So just imagine eating like that on a regular basis. Then when something tempting comes up, you realize you can have some without overindulging or feeling like you got to do it in hiding. So kudos for you on that, Rain, and thank you for sharing that. Hopefully that's motivation for others. Let's see here. Can I just buy the pesto sauce? I didn't have enough basil. Absolutely, you can. These recipes are designed really to show you what when we're going to talk about that today: clean eating, whole foods, clean eating, and things of that nature. But yes, absolutely, there's nothing wrong with purchasing it and using that in your recipe as well. Let's see here, and she enjoyed today's smoothie as well. Stick on track with fighting those. That's right, still on track, Yay! So also those we had the berry avocado smoothie. So we had some zucchini in there. We had some avocado in there. So share with me how you enjoyed that, okay? Because again, different flavors, powerhouse smoothie. So that's what makes these things powerhouse, okay? So I'm looking for some other comments just to make sure I'm not missing anything. And we are going to jump right in. So I'm going to try to look for comments. I missed some yesterday, so I'm gonna try to catch them live so I can answer your questions live. And so we all have heard of clean eating, okay? But what exactly is clean eating, okay? And what is it that you need to do to clean up how you're eating? But clean eating is really a broad term, and everybody looks at it a bit differently. And so today we're going to discuss what clean eating is, and we're going to give you some tips. I'm going to give you about 6 tips on what you can do to start eating clean or eating cleaner, so to speak, okay? And so my question, what is the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the term clean eating? Like, what is it to you? So in the past, before you've even heard me say anything about it, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear clean eating? Okay. And I will wait for those comments and I will continue on. All right. Perfect. Awesome. And so let's talk about what clean eating is not. Okay, so while I'm waiting for comments, I will talk about what clean eating is not, because I want to clear this up, because sometimes it's a stigmatism around what clean eating is. And so clean eating is not a fad diet. It's not a cleanse. It's not a detox. Okay, that's probably the biggest thing that most people think of when they hear clean eating. It's not about what you can or cannot eat. And it's not about counting calories, eliminating carbs, eating cabbage soup all day, or whatever these different diets that are out there. And it's not about starving. It's not about deprivation or restricting. That is not what clean eating is about. What is it about? It is about two points I want to make. And I think I see a comment here. Okay, so Raina thinks vegan, natural food. Okay, and I'm going to talk about vegan. And I'm gonna clear up that you don't have to go vegan in order to get healthier, clean things up, get your cholesterol in check. You don't have to. I like for people to go vegan because that is a personal preference, like for religious reasons, humanitarian reasons, because that's something that they're really passionate about versus being scared into it. So that's a big difference. So I don't want people scared into it or going vegan just because they feel like that's what they have to do, because vegan is complicated. It's complicated, and if it's not done right, it can cause other health problems. So that's the thing that people don't know. All right. So the 2 points we want to talk about with clean eating is being mindful of the origin of your food and ensuring that it is as close to its natural state as possible. That's what you're seeing here with these recipes. Okay. So in its natural state as much as possible. So I call it minimal processing. I did a live a few weeks ago about processed foods. You have minimal processed, you have highly processed. So, but it's always a level of processing somewhere. It's just a matter of where it falls on the spectrum. And then another point is it's about consuming food that you enjoy. Okay, whole foods that you enjoy, such as fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, beans, fish, low fat or fat-free dairy, seafood, clean meats, okay, in ways that is enjoyable for you. So you don't have to have it plain without any seasoning. You don't have to have it boring, because a lot of people think that. And eating more of the best and healthiest options in each of the food groups, okay, and eating less of the not so healthy ones. So in that regard, I believe food is for fun and food is for nourishment. And so you have a balance of them both. So you basically want to eat a variety of the foods within the food group. So we tend to have our favorites, right? But no one food has it all. There's no one superfood. Okay. So the more that you eat around the different food groups, I call that around the plate, the more you eat within the different foods in within the food groups, the more nutrients you get in the long run. Okay. And then that way you don't have to worry about, are you getting enough of this vitamin and enough of that mineral? If you're eating of the right amount of servings that you need for your body, then you will get it all covered. And so it also means cutting back, not necessarily avoiding, but cutting back on refined grains, additives, preservatives, the unhealthy fats, which we will call the saturated fats, and large amounts of added sugar and salt. So you notice I didn't say avoid it. It's kind of hard to do that, but we want to be mindful of how much of it we're eating. And we want to, you got the 80-20 rule. We kind of want that to fall in that 20%. And so some clean eating plans call for eliminating a lot of food groups. So think of, or food. So think of coffee, think of dairy, think of grain. Sometimes you'll hear, oh, don't eat fruit for a couple of weeks to jumpstart this and to jumpstart that. None of that's necessary, but you're eliminating nutrients that your body needs to thrive, okay, and to actually reach the goal that you want to reach. And so I don't believe in being that restrictive. And so you only want to take away, you're not only taking away things that you enjoy eating, but then there's really not a lot of science to back that up. So we want to be careful about. It's a red flag if the plan is saying you got to cut all this out and there is no doctor doctor diagnosis that says there's an allergy or an intolerance, then I would think twice about that. Okay, that's a red flag. And so you need to find a clean eating style that works for you, even if that means eating a little bit we call dirty sometimes. Okay, you want it enjoyable. And so this 3-day challenge is moving you, it's introducing you to cleaner eating while you still hopefully enjoying. So far we've been getting good feedback. So that you're enjoying having new flavors, putting things together that you never thought about. Like I saw several comments about not ever thinking about putting apples in your tuna fish, again, different ways of doing things to get that little sweetness. There's ways to do it. Let's see here. Yes, eating food as close to its natural state as possible. So that's what Raina thinks of when she says clean eating. And that's exactly what it is. And that's all it is. No more, no more, no less. No more, no less. All righty. So I want to ask you all, let's see here. Share where you felt in regards to your clean eating after day one. Okay. So let me back up a little bit. So where did you feel, how do you feel after day one? Like, do you feel less bloated, more rested, less sluggish? Those are some of the things. More energy? Do you feel better overall? Like anything that you've noticed that may be different from how you felt on Monday. So, because again, it doesn't take long for your body to respond. So some people, maybe you slept a little better, you were able to wind down a little easier. So anything that you can think of that you may have felt over just the first day, and then we're going to see how you feel after the end of the third day. Alrighty, so your way to, let's see here. Here we go. So here we go. Your way to eating clean. So we have first 3 tips. So here's first 3 of the 6 tips. Load up on fruits and vegetables. So that's the first thing you want to think about. Load up on fruits and vegetables. You'll see a lot of that in these 3 days, right? And so, we know the obvious benefits of the fruits and the vegetable: blood pressure, diabetes control, heart disease, cancer, gut and immune. So those are kind of the obvious benefits. But I do want to share some statistics that many people don't know. So 76% of Americans do not get enough fruit each day. Okay. And a whopping 87% are not getting enough of the vegetables that they need. So those are pretty high numbers, right? So we want to definitely incorporate that throughout your day. Number 2, go whole grain. So everything you eat doesn't have to go whole grain. So when I say whole grain, like brown rice, whole wheat bread, whole wheat pasta, quinoa, things like that, sweet potatoes, corn, there's a lot of things, popcorn, don't think about that, granola. So everything does not have to come in a whole grain form, but the more the better. The more the better. And so with whole grains comes more fiber, antioxidants, think about cancer preventing and fighting, anti-inflammatory, fighting, phytonutrients. So those are like nutrients that are plant-based that benefits our body. And plus, people who eat more whole grains have easier time losing weight and keeping it off for the long term. So the more whole grains you have, in addition to fruits and vegetables, the more fiber you're going to have, which is going to sustain you and to help keep things moving too as well. And so the cleanest whole grains are the ones that can be touched by the least processing. So that's that minimal processing I was talking about. So think whole grains that look most like they're just harvest in our just harvest state, like quinoa, wild rice, oats, things like that. But it is unrealistic to abstain from anything that's processed. Okay, so minimal processed foods such as whole wheat pasta, whole wheat bread, things like that. Simple ingredients are part of a clean eating plan. So always remember that. Okay, you don't have to cut this stuff out. We just gotta do it in moderation, and that does mean different things for different people. Eat less protein. I didn't say cut it out, but you want to eat less protein because protein has its place. Okay, and so more research suggests that cutting back on meat is definitely healthier for you and it's healthy for the planet. But going vegan is not a requirement for clean eating. It's just eating less protein can help reduce your blood pressure, reduce your risk for heart disease, and to keep your weight in check. But of course, you want to have the leaner cuts. But it does meat provides a purpose. It keeps our iron levels good. It keeps our muscles recovery strong and building, and it helps us to rest. It supports our immune system. So again, it all has its purpose. And plus eating, and then in addition to that, eating more plants helps to bump up the fiber. So you want to combine. You want to have a predominantly plant-based eating, but you also want to have a little bit of lean protein to help. Again, all the pieces work together. Okay, they don't work well by themselves, but they all work together when they are all combined, all right? And most Americans get more than enough protein than they need. So in many cases, I even had to cut down when I started paying attention to what I was eating. I had to cut it down myself. All righty, so let's see here. Let me see if there's any comments. Oh my goodness, yes, let's see here. Okay, so Raina shared that she is less bloated, more energy, and she did sleep better. And I see this is only after one day. So imagine, and even if you would have had something, we call dirty or something, or maybe a little bit more processed, that wouldn't have taken it away because majority of your day was filled with powerhouse food. So that is amazing. I'm glad that you were able to experience that so soon. Food is medicine. So post on here, fruits and vegetables, whole wheat or less protein. So what 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 is a good first step for you? It's different for everybody to move you towards cleaner eating. So is that adding more fruits and vegetables or one of the other fruits or vegetables? Is it incorporating more whole grain foods or is it eating less protein and then ensuring that the protein that you are eating are lean? So those are some things because a lot of times people will pump up the protein, lower the carbs and things like that. So we want to have a balance. So what is the next good first step that's realistic that you can we want to set yourself up for success. We can set a goal for yourself. Okay. All right. And so while those answers are coming in, I want to definitely kind of chime in. I mentioned yesterday about some people will get all that they need from this 3-day challenge and they can go for it. Maybe this is what they need to jumpstart, to stop the plateau, to get them back going. And then some people say, oh, I need a little more assistance. I need a little bit more hand holding because it is difficult to break habits. And I say, because I was guilty of this, we don't know what we don't know. So we may think we're doing what we need to do. We made changes, but for me, there were some dots that I wasn't able to connect that I needed help with in order to actually get my weight loss in gear after trying for 3 years on my own. And so and we've all been there. We've all done that. So I always say in summary of my story, if it's taking you more than 6 months to see some real results or any results, then get help. You try it on your own and get some help. Don't waste time like I did. And so remember, there's no one size that fits all. And so one of the things that I'm doing and I'm really excited about is that I'm offering these one-on-one phone sessions, these complimentary phone sessions. I'm calling them back on track sessions where we are able to talk one-on-one. So we're able to dig a little bit deeper to figure out what it is that you need to jumpstart your goals as far as health, mental clarity, weight, et cetera, because it's difficult to do it on our own. We do it on our own. There's so much conflicting information out there. We get confused with what is and what is not. And what works for one doesn't always work for another. And so this is a way to kind of find out, well, let's discover your personalized keys to success for you. If it's weight loss, let's figure out what that is for you. And so I am opening my calendar. I'm looking for 12 committed people who are ready. And one of the things that we are going to do is we're going to get a real clear vision on what your specific nutrition and weight loss plan is for you. Okay. And if you're not looking to lose weight, maybe you need to figure out how to maintain it, because what we do to lose it is different than what we need to do to maintain it. So those are different ways of approaching it. And then we want to uncover any hidden challenges that you've had. If you've been trying for a long time, then what is it? Is it restricting too much? Is it cutting back too much? Is it some information that you were given that really wasn't as accurate or science based? So we need to figure out what that is so we can get you past that hump and move you forward. And we're going to leave you with something tangible. There's no point in having a conversation if you don't have a plan, if you don't have anything to go on. And so that's what it's all about. You'll leave there with some next steps and some goals and something that you can actually implement. And so that is what it is all about. And I think I already put the URL in there. So definitely check that out and get on my calendar. And I would love to speak with you one-on-one. And so let's wrap this up. Let me see if I see any comments. Okay, so less protein. So we need to, some people said they need to lower their protein. And I always thought a lot of people think a lot of protein is good. And, but again, honestly, our bodies can only process so much. And so a lot of people don't realize that. So I'll say usually about 3 to 4 ounces for the average person. We're not talking about competitive athletes and things like that. That's a whole different animal, but just the common active everyday person like myself, most of you all, about 3 to 4 ounces per meal is what our bodies will actually use adequately in that setting. Otherwise, it's just going to get stored as fat. It doesn't need it. It's too much. So that's why we have to feed our bodies on a continual basis, not just one big meal and then we're done, we're good. So we're constantly using our energy as we eat it, so we're constantly burning it as we're eating it. So we constantly have to stay refueled. So let's go real quickly through our last 3. So we want to watch out for processed foods. Okay. So the truth is, like we said, everything is processed. It's a spectrum. And so we have the minimal process, like the spinach in the bag. So people don't think the spinach in the bag is processed, but it is. It's minimally processed. So unless you're pulling it out from the ground, I tell people you have a farm, you have a garden, then it is some level of processing. Okay. And so we want to watch out for that and minimize that. I mean, of course, we know things like candy colored, the cereal and all that kind of stuff. We know that's very, very processed. So I'm not saying you shouldn't ever have it, but you want to limit it. And limit added sugar. Okay. So most people, we have too much added sugar. Okay. And so the American Heart Association has suggested that added sugar limits to maybe around 100 calories per day, which is about 6 teaspoons of sugar a day. So for most women, and then for men, around 150 calories a day. So basically, in that regard, if you're eating clean, eating things more in their whole state, and you're eating less processed stuff, then say avoid it, then you really don't have to track that much. So if you're not, the big soda drinker, the big processed foods as far as baked goods and things like that, then you're not going to really have an issue if this is not something that's going on a regular basis. Okay. There's no nutritional benefit, as we know, when it comes with added sugar. It's just generally something, for some people it's an addiction. For some people it's just something to enjoy, what you should do on occasion. Okay. So we just want to have a balance there, and keep an eye on sodium. That's the third one. Sodium, there's a lot of hidden culprits of sodium. I had to learn that. We know the obvious TV dinners and things like that, but there's a lot of hidden places where, and it's usually they're more highly processed foods. It's not cooking at home. A lot of times people think, oh, I don't cook with salt and I don't shake salt, but that's not the culprit. The culprit is from the processed foods and dining out. Okay, so that's why we want to limit those things. We don't have to avoid it, but we want to limit it. And then we want to, and when you're cutting back on processed foods, you will naturally reduce your salt intake. Okay. And let me see, make sure I don't have any comments. What about fruit sugar? Do they count again? So, and I see some other comments. So there is a difference. So you have your natural sugar. Actually, your natural sugar comes in 2 forms: your fruit sugar, which is fructose, and your milk sugar, which is lactose. Okay. That's the good stuff. I mean, but again, we don't go unlimited with fruit though, just because it's natural. And so we still have to regulate that, but as well, but it is considered a natural source and it doesn't quote unquote count against but we do want to make sure that we're not eating like a whole bunch of fruit. Because I've had some clients where, I would just snack on, a bunch of grapes and, apples and thinking that was healthy. Yeah, it is, but it's still calories adding up and our bodies all still have a limit. So that was a very, very, very good question. So we don't want to rule it out, but again, we just want to make sure everything is in moderation. All the food groups, all the servings, we only need a certain amount of servings of all the food groups based on our age and things like that. So we find that balance. Okay. So very, very, very good question. Very good question. And so, what is a good next step? What's another good step for you to move closer to clean eating? And so, is that reducing the amount of processed foods where things are already prepared for you? You just kind of pop it in the microwave, like in flavored rices and flavored things. That's what's considered processed. Is the added sugar? So it's like some breakfast cereals, which is not a bad thing. I usually say if it's in the single digits, you're doing good because that's usually your healthier cereal. But if it's just not even a whole grain cereal and it has 20 grams of added sugar, then that may not be the best choice on a regular basis. But added sugar from like sodas and sweets and things like that, do you need to reduce that? Less sodium. So that one I would say more so for if you dine out a lot. So if you're eating out 3 and 4 times a week, that's something to really think about as far as lowering your sodium intake. So those are ways to clean that up, and also the processed stuff. So what are some ways that is realistic for you that you can kind of attack? I don't recommend doing it all at once. Just find a few that, oh, okay, yeah, I know this is something that I would really like to work on. Let me conquer that one. So let's see here. That's me. Yes. So that is what I have for you in regards to the clean eating. So really, in summary, we just want to eat as much food in their whole state as possible. But again, prepare it with flavor. And so that's what this challenge is about, to see how you can do things that are in their whole state and it still has some flavor in it. So, and it kind of helps you out with that. Eat for nourishment. Think of the 80-20 rule. It's not an all or nothing. It's not perfect. Don't think if you had a few M&Ms that's going to derail you or that's going to mess things up. No, we're human. We want to address those needs and nip it in the bud before it turns into something bigger. So I'm a real proponent of that. I'd rather you have an ice cream cone than to have a whole gallon of ice cream later because you felt like you deprived yourself. That's what you want to avoid. Definitely eat more plant-based, but there's no need to go vegan unless, again, humanitarian reasons, religious reasons, but don't do it out of fear. Don't do it out of misinformation and to be misinformed. So that's the mistake, because I said vegan is complicated. It's doable, but it's complicated. It's not as easy as 1, 2, 3. Okay, there's a lot of things you have to make up for when you do that, but you want to have lean protein in moderation. Okay, and what do you need to do to clean up your act? And so what I mean by clean up your act, I call this self-care. And so adopt a healthier and a cleaner lifestyle, meaning get adequate exercise, effective exercise, get adequate sleep, manage your stress. Stress is not going to go away, but we need to find a way to manage it. Okay, so it's not like causing us to take years off our life, right? And we want to connect with people that you enjoy. You want to laugh, you want to have fun. We kind of lose that inside of the world and everything that we deal with. All right, so we found that helpful. And so let's see here. Processed food. Okay, reducing the amount of processed food. I had to do that one. That was a big one for me. And so in the guidebook, let's look at that really quickly. And so just some friendly reminders on some good nutrition eating tips. Remember, we want to have breakfast within 2 hours of waking up. So for this week is our smoothies, but to continue that's something that you can continue moving forward. When you get up, that's when the clock starts. So try to eat something within 2 hours to get your body going. Try to eat your next main meal around 4 hours. Once your metabolism wakes up, you'll probably go 3.5 to 4 hours, but that's usually a good marker. And if it becomes 4.5, don't worry about that. But we just don't want it to turn to 6 and 7 on a regular basis, because then that's when we'll introduce some cravings. Have your afternoon snack. Okay, so the morning snack I usually say is optional, depends on how late your breakfast is and when your lunch is. But that 3:30, 4-ish kind of time frame, have a snack, have something that you enjoy, have something that you look forward to. That's where I recommend putting in the snack for this challenge, so that will carry you to dinner and will help kind of keep things at bay to where you're not allowing yourself to get too hungry. And then listen to your body. Listen to your body, because we all need different calories. And so if you find yourself munching, but when it's after dinner, then have something. We have the toasted trail mix. We have plenty of that. So have some of that. But do not go to bed hungry or anything like that. We want to take that edge off so that you're not waking up in the middle of the night starving. Okay. So the key is to keep your body sustained. All right. So let me see if I'm missing any comments there. And so let's see here. So today we are making a new dish. We're going to have the mango chickpea salad with grilled chicken. So kebabs, I'm not going to do the kebabs. This is if you're going to do it on a grill, but if you can, if you would like to do that, feel free. Otherwise, you just cook them without the without the kebab. All right. So no worries there. But this is another good one. It makes several servings, and so you can, if you have family, you can have the leftovers, or you can continue to have the leftovers for the rest of the challenge. The snack is easy, so it's celery and hummus, and then tomorrow we have a mango lime smoothie. And so this is another good one. And we have leftovers for our lunch tomorrow. So you don't have to make anything. I'm looking the smoothie up right now just to make sure there is nothing in there that alarms anything. So everything is frozen. So this will come out creamy. So the mangoes are frozen, your cauliflower is frozen, and things like that. If you don't have a fresh lime, you can use lime juice if you need to do that. And then for those who have tree nut allergies, instead of almond butter, you can use sunflower seed butter. So things like that. So that's a way to work around that. And again, I recommend the 1% milk, or you can do soy, okay, or lactose free. So 1% lactose free if somebody's lactose intolerant. So all of those. So that's what makes it powerhouse, okay? Because that's what's going to increase your protein content. All righty, and let's see here. We got some comments on the smoothie for today. If anybody else wants to chime in on that, if you like that one, on tomorrow, we got one more, and then I'm going to ask which one was your favorite. All right, and then any comments on if anybody wants to share how they like the dinner yesterday, the peanut Thai zucchini noodles. So that's, and then we also had it for leftovers today for lunch. So share your comments on that one. And if you decide to have it warm or cold, so definitely let me know that. And let's see here. I think we have covered everything. So this concludes what I have. I'm gonna let y'all go. I thank y'all for staying with me to the end. And again, I recommend grabbing your spot for we can talk one-on-one to move you forward. And tomorrow we're going to tune in at the same time, and we're going to talk more about focused next steps. So that's what's tomorrow. We're going to talk about the what, the why, and the how for successful and long-term weight loss. Because what good is it to lose weight if you cannot keep it off? So I've been able to keep mine off since 2000. Yeah, I have my ups and downs. I had my little window there where I went past my window and I had to reel it back in. And so trust me, I know all about it. But so we will talk about that tomorrow. So thank you for tuning in, and enjoy the rest of your day, and continue to post photos and videos and just share your experience so it inspires all of us as well. And any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm here to support you. All right. Have a great rest of your day and be blessed. Bye-bye.